He said it like a fire alarm spoken through a whisper. Stop. I had my badge in one hand, coffee in the other, Monday on my shoulders. The lobby smelled like lemon cleaner and in printer heat. Screens flashed stock tickers I never owned. I'd done this walk 1,000 times. Through the turnstiles, past the ficus that never looked alive, up to the same desk where I answered emails written by people who didn't read. Nothing dramatic, just a man and his routine, and a kid in an ill-fitting blazer planting himself between me and the elevator like a traffic cone with a pulse. Don't go in there, he added, eyes on my chest as if the badge itself might argue. The way he said it wasn't cocky or cute. It was scared, not panicked. Scared in the way someone gets after they've already watched the bad thing happen once. I looked at him properly. 19, 20. New ID clipped backward, lanyard twisted. Hair he'd tried to flatten with water and failed. A thin film of sweat on his upper lip. The coffee warmed my fingers. I work here, I said, because that was the simplest truth available. I know, he said. That's why. The security guard at the desk glanced up, then away, the way people do when they don't want to own the next 5 minutes. The lobby doors sighed open and closed behind me, letting in strips of street noise, bus brakes, a siren far off, the click of shoes with somewhere better to be. It was 8:41. I am good with time when something feels wrong. What's your name? I asked. Evan, he said, like it might be used against him. Evan, you're an intern, I said, not unkindly. You don't have to. I know, he cut in, voice dropping. But if you tap in, your day gets different. Different. I took a sip of coffee and tasted the burn at the edge of the too hot. Is that a threat? I asked. It came out flat, like I'd set a tool on a table to see if it rolled. He shook his head hard. Not from me. I'm trying to help you. I didn't know who you were until this morning. His eyes flicked to the security desk again. The guard found something important to arrange in a drawer. Evan read my face and swallowed. Okay, he said. Let me earn 30 seconds. If you still want to go up, I'll step aside. 30 seconds is not long unless someone is using it to change your life. I checked the elevator display out of habit. One was paused on 7, one climbing fast, one falling. The building hummed around me, indifferent. Talk, I said. He took a breath that sounded like it stuck halfway down. They're in the conference room by the west windows, he said. Your manager, HR, and 2 people I don't know with leather notebooks. They came in before 8. No chatter, no laughs. They asked me to make sure the deck was shared and the screen mirrored. Then they told me to sit outside and let them know when you arrived. Routine mid-quarter, I said, though it wasn't. We don't gather that early unless someone likes theater. Maybe, he said. Except, while I was setting the screen, I saw the notes. I didn't mean to. They were just there. He swallowed. Your name is on a slide. He made the shape of a rectangle in the air, like he could draw the sin out of it. Not just your name, a number, and a sentence that doesn't belong to you. I waited. The coffee stopped tasting like anything. He found the words. They wrote you missed deadlines, he said. Repeatedly. They wrote you falsified a time entry. He looked at me like he expected me to break, or shout, or teach him how to be brave. Sir, you didn't. I know you didn't. I've been shadowing your tickets. You close what you say you'll close. You stay late. You send follow-ups that are polite even when no one deserves polite. The elevator dinged. A woman stepped out with a tote bag full of binders and a face that had learned how to keep secrets. She scanned in, a green light blinked, and she slid past us without slowing down. Evan moved instinctively to shield me from the flow of bodies that wasn't there. I didn't ask why he was certain. I didn't ask what else he saw. I only asked the question that solves nothing and still gets asked. Why would they write that? He flinched. That's why I said stop, he said softly. Because if you go up there, they get to make it real by reading it out loud. I stared past him to the turnstiles. The badge in my palm felt heavier than it had any right to be. On the wall behind the security desk, someone had decided framed motivational quotes counted as culture. Teamwork in white letters over an image of climbers who had probably never opened Excel. "Evan," I said, "there's a reason you're shaking." He looked down at his hands as if they'd betrayed him. "This is my first job," he said. "My mom ironed this shirt last night while I practiced not sounding stupid. They asked me to fetch water and then leave the door ajar, but I messed it up and it swung wide, and the slide was—" He stopped, blinked hard. "I'm not dramatic. I saw your name and I knew your name. I'm the one who kept asking you where the API keys were stored, and you didn't make me feel like I was wasting oxygen." The guard coughed. It sounded like the building clearing its throat. "What time?" I asked. 8:15 they went in, he said. "They're waiting on you to start." A cleaner pushed a cart across the marble, and the faint lemon came back. I set the coffee on the ledge of a planter. My badge was still in my hand. I thought about the last 7 years, the launches I stayed up for, the weekends I gave to a timeline that couldn't learn gratitude, the praise that always arrived in the form of an extra task. I thought about the tiny ways I'd taught myself not to need thanks. You can get so good at being dependable that people stop thinking you might also be human. "Who asked you to stop me?" I said. "No one," he said quickly. "I wasn't supposed to be here. I'm scheduled on 12 today. I came down because I didn't want them to tell that story first." I believed him. Not because his face was open, but because he looked like a person who'd rehearsed lies in the mirror and decided that they didn't fit. "Okay," I said, "then do one more thing. Tell me exactly what you saw. Not guesses, not vibe, words." He nodded, grateful for an instruction. "Slide 3, he said. Title, Risk Summary. Under it, bullets, your name, then pattern of delay, then work journal inconsistent, then recommendation separation. Next to it, smaller font, a line that said, safeguard access to vendor portal, prior to notice. I don't know what that means. I just remember the phrasing because I typed it in my phone as soon as I stepped out, so I wouldn't mess it up. He showed me the note. He had typed it exactly. The elevator dinged again. Another door sighed. Somewhere above us, wheels rolled chairs into place. I pictured the west windows, the view over the river we were always proud to show visitors, as if water could launder a decision. Evan shifted his weight. "I know I'm overstepping," he said, "but I kept thinking about what happens when people don't get warned. They sit down at the table thinking it's about their project, and someone starts reciting a life that isn't theirs." "What did they say about why?" I asked. My voice stayed level. I wasn't calm. I was choosing neat piles. "I didn't hear a why," he said. "I just heard your manager ask if IT could cut access in the room, or if that had to happen from downstairs, and—" He stopped. "And what?" "And he told HR, we'll frame it around performance, not the procurement thing. I don't know what procurement thing is. I just know it sounded like 2 tracks, and only one was going to be said with you in the chair." The air in my lungs didn't move for a second. Then it did. I checked the badge one more time, as if it might display a different name. It didn't. It was still mine. Evan scraped his shoe on the floor once, a nervous metronome. "I'm not asking you to run," he said. "I'm just asking you not to walk into a room where you don't get to finish your own sentence. I have made some foolish decisions in my life. I have also made some quiet, good ones that no one clapped for." In the lobby of a building that had never learned my middle name, I set the badge on the planter next to the coffee and took a breath that belonged to me. "You weren't supposed to see what they did to you," Evan said finally, as if the sentence had been lodged under his tongue since 8:15. "But now you know." He wasn't wrong. But knowing something and knowing what to do with it are 2 different hells. I left the building without my badge, walked 3 blocks east to a cafe that opened early for people who liked pretending caffeine could fix moral injury, sat by the window, watched the office tower shimmer in the morning light, like it hadn't just swallowed a lie whole. 7 years. 7 years of promotions that came with more responsibility and less recognition. 7 years of being the calm one in rooms where panic was policy, the kind of employee you build a system on until the system needs a scapegoat. I stirred my coffee until it stopped steaming. My phone buzzed with an Outlook notification. Meeting reminder, 9 a.m. Performance review, West Conference Room. Cute. I thought about deleting it. Then I thought about how stories die when you delete them too early. By 9:05, there were already 3 missed calls from HR. Central, one from my manager, and a single message that said, "Where are you? We're all waiting to rewrite me." I typed back, "Give me an hour." No emoji, no apology, just a sentence with teeth. I opened my laptop. VPN still worked. They hadn't cut me off yet. That told me they hadn't expected resistance. Good. I signed in and started reading. Emails, calendar invites, anything with my name in the subject line. Then I saw it. Subject. Vendor portal access. Urgent audit from Director of Procurement. To my manager, HR Legal CC. The first line hit like a slow-motion punch. Grant will take responsibility for the discrepancies on the vendor invoices. He handled the uploads, so the timeline can be attributed to him. We'll proceed as discussed. I hadn't handled the uploads. I hadn't even had the credentials. They had used my name like a shield. Neat handwriting on a borrowed sword. I scrolled down. Attachments. 2 spreadsheets. Both dated the week I was on sick leave. That wasn't an accident. And then I saw the real tell. A note in the metadata. Prepared by ML, my manager's initials. Lazy, confident. Arrogant enough to think no one would ever check. My heart didn't race. It slowed. There's a specific kind of calm that comes when you finally see the knife, handle and all. I downloaded everything, mirrored it to a hidden drive, then opened the company's cloud messenger. Evan was still online. Green dot, intern, floor 12. I typed, "Thank you for warning me. I need one more favor." He replied within seconds. "Anything. Just tell me what to do." There's a shared drive labeled Vendor Audit 2224. Can you check the version history of the files labeled Invoice Review? Okay, give me a minute. While he worked, I watched the building across the street. Cars flowed in and out of the parking garage like blood through veins that didn't care who they kept alive. Then a ping. Done. There's a comment on version 5 by ML. Says align timestamps to match Grant's submission window. Should I screenshot? Yes. And send it to my personal email. A pause. Then another message. Are they firing you? They're trying. But not today. It wasn't bravado, just a fact I decided to make true. At 9:37, another email arrived. Subject. Immediate response. Required. HR meeting. Follow-up. The tone was sharp, the kind of corporate politeness that smells like gasoline. Grant, your absence this morning was noted. We expect you to report by 10:30 for a formal discussion. Failure to attend will be treated as insubordination. I smiled into my coffee. Insubordination, always their favorite word when someone stops being convenient. I wrote back, I'll be there. Please ensure the meeting is recorded, for transparency. Then I called someone I hadn't spoken to in a year, Karen Lopez, compliance officer. We'd worked together on an internal audit once. She liked facts more than friends, which made her dangerous to everyone but me. Grant, she said, surprise wrapped in suspicion. Hi, Karen. Quick question. If someone alters procurement files to shift accountability, is that a compliance issue or an HR one? Silence. Then, both. Why? I have documents and timestamps. You still in the building? No, I said. That's why I'm safe. She sighed. Email me everything. Use my private address, not the internal one. Already did. A long pause. Then quietly, who else knows? Just the intern who stopped me from walking into it. She exhaled. Then stay out. Don't talk to them. I'll handle the rest. But that was just the beginning. Because when people feel the ground shift under them, they don't stay still, they start digging. At 10:10, Evan messaged me again. They're asking if I've seen you. I said no. HR lady looked pissed. Stay out of it, I told him. Too late. She asked me to bring the printouts from the shared drive. Should I? No. Tell her it's locked for system maintenance. Then log off. Okay. I closed my laptop, left a cash tip on the saucer, and stepped into the street. The air tasted like rain and exhaust. My phone buzzed again, another call from HR, then one from my manager. I didn't answer either. The thing about truth is that it doesn't need a schedule. By noon, they'd know I'd already written my own version of the meeting they'd planned. And this time, I was the one with the slide deck. I didn't go home. Home was where people go when they want to hide. I wasn't hiding. Instead, I went to a small co-working space a few blocks away. The kind where freelancers and startups pretend they're changing the world on borrowed Wi-Fi. I paid cash for a day pass, found a desk near the window, and opened my laptop again. The files Karen had sent me were sitting in my inbox. She'd moved fast. 2 attachments, both zipped, both labeled with that neutral language bureaucrats use when they're walking on glass. Preliminary findings, procurement review. Inside, screenshots, internal messages, timestamps, approval chains, and one line that made everything click. ML authorized payment to vendor Northbridge Consulting without secondary approval. Invoice uploaded under user credentials belonging to G. Reed. G. Reed me. Except I'd never logged into that portal in my life. They had used my name, my timestamp, my login history. But they forgot one thing. Every system keeps a trail, and every trail has a fingerprint. I scrolled through the metadata, line by line. Then I saw it. A technical tag buried in the XML data, one that showed the machine ID. It didn't match mine. It matched my manager's. That was it. That was the nail. I sat back, let the moment breathe. You don't rush a revelation like that. You let it settle in your chest until the calm feels earned. I called Karen again. Got it, I said. You're sure? She asked. Machine ID ends in 74B9, same as the logs from his workstation. Silence on her end. Then a quiet, that's not just HR now. That's internal audit and legal. Good, I said. Let them work. She hesitated. Grant, what are you planning to do? I looked out the window at the rain starting to fall. Thin, polite rain, the kind that wets everything without changing anything. Nothing illegal, I said. Just something fair. At 2:15, the company sent out a network maintenance alert. Translation, they'd discovered someone was inside their walls. They were trying to plug leaks, but I was already out. I uploaded the full archive, metadata, screenshots, call notes, to an anonymous tip address that every corporation keeps for ethical reporting. Then I sent a copy directly to Karen, tagged as evidence, and another to a journalist I'd met years ago on a volunteer project. She specialized in corporate fraud and had a way of making stories sound like autopsies. Within an hour, my phone lit up with notifications, messages from coworkers. Are you okay? Something's going down. HR just closed the West conference room. People look freaked. Then Evan texted. Sir, they called a meeting. Everyone looks pale. Your manager just left with security. I typed back. Stay quiet. Don't defend me. Just observe. Okay, but you did this, didn't you? No, Evan, I wrote. They did. Mini hook. They thought I'd stay quiet. I didn't. The next hours moved slow, heavy. There's a peculiar silence that follows justice. Not celebration, not chaos. Just quiet correction. By 4:30, Karen called again. Grant, it's official. They've suspended him pending investigation. HR is pretending they just discovered discrepancies. You'll get an email tomorrow with next steps. Next steps, I repeated. That's what they call it when they realize you're not the problem. She exhaled. You handled this clean. I learned from people who didn't. I closed my laptop, leaned back, and let the city move outside the window. People were heading home. Suits, umbrellas, the rhythm of survival. It hit me then. This wasn't victory. It wasn't revenge either. It was balance. The quiet kind. The kind you don't toast to because it's not sweet. It's just right. That night, I walked past the office building again. The lights on the 7th floor were still on. Through the glass, I could see silhouettes. HR, legal, Karen maybe. A dozen stories being rewritten in real time. At the security desk, the same guard nodded at me. No words. He looked like a man who knew the weather had changed but couldn't say when. I didn't go upstairs. I didn't need to. Some truths don't need witnesses. They just need to exist. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like part of the building. I felt like the man who walked out before it collapsed. The next morning, the city looked cleaner than it should have. Crisp light, cold air, people moving like nothing important had happened yesterday. But something had. I woke early, shaved, ironed my own shirt, not because I had anywhere to be, but because routine keeps the mind from replaying chaos. Then I took the same route to the office, the same train, same steps past the cafe that always burned the croissants. 7 years of habits don't vanish overnight. The building loomed like a familiar lie, glass and steel pretending to be honest. I scanned my new access badge, temporary compliance issued, and the turnstile light flashed green. The guard looked at me, nodded once, no words. Different respect now. Upstairs, the air had shifted. People weren't talking as loudly. A few looked at their screens with the kind of focus that comes from fear. HR was a revolving door that morning. Suits in, suits out. My manager's office was empty. Desk cleared, chair turned sideways. On the door, a tape notice. Access restricted. Investigation in progress. Funny. He used to tape performance charts there. At my own desk, someone had placed a sealed envelope. No sender. Just my name in block letters. Inside, a single-page memo. 2. G. Read subject. Interim assignment notice. Effective immediately, you are appointed acting project lead. Procurement systems. Compliance and audit commend your cooperation. I read it twice, folded it once, and put it back in the envelope. Titles never impressed me. Clean names did. Evan showed up around 10, still in that same too big blazer, same restless energy. When he saw me, he froze like he was checking if I was real. You came back? He said. I always do, I replied. It's just that this time I came back different. He smiled, the kind of smile people wear when they've been holding their breath too long. They were talking about you all morning. Legal, HR, everyone. Said you had documentation that you followed protocol perfectly. Even Karen looked proud. Pride doesn't pay the bills, I said, but it's a nice currency to have once in a while. He nodded, then hesitated. Sir, yesterday, I didn't know if I was overstepping, if I'd just made it worse. You didn't, I said. You did what people forget to do. You told the truth before someone asked for it. He looked down, embarrassed, then grinned. They're calling me brave. They should call you employed, I said. Keep your head down. Let the story unfold without you in it. He laughed softly. Is that what you're doing? Sort of, I said, except I'm finally the one writing the ending. We stood there a moment, the office humming like a machine trying to remember its settings. The west windows caught the light again, same river view, same city pretending to move forward. Around noon, I walked to the conference room, the same one I wasn't supposed to enter yesterday. Inside, silence, stale coffee, the faint smell of toner, and panic. On the whiteboard, a half-erased chart still read, Performance Issues, Mitigation Plan. I uncapped a marker, crossed out Issues, and wrote Integrity. Then I left. By Friday, the news had spread. My manager's resignation to pursue other opportunities. The director's temporary leave pending investigation. Karen's quiet promotion. Evan's internship extended through the year, and me, the man they tried to bury under paperwork, sitting in the same chair, working the same projects, but breathing different air. No champagne, no speeches. Just clean silence, the kind that fills the room after a storm leaves. That evening, I stood outside the office one last time. Evan was by the elevators, phone in hand, earbuds dangling. He looked up as the doors opened. "You staying late?" I asked. "Yeah, trying to catch up." I nodded. "Don't let them catch up to you." He smiled, a little crooked, a little wiser. The doors closed between us, and I caught my reflection in the glass. Not a hero, not a victim. Just a man who finally stopped mistaking endurance for loyalty. As I stepped out into the street, the city moved on. Cars, lights, laughter spilling from bars. My phone buzzed once, a message from Karen. "Audit complete. You were right. Everything's documented. Take the weekend off." I typed back, "Already have." Then I put the phone away, hands in my pockets, walking into the wind that smelled like new rain and old buildings. Because sometimes justice doesn't arrive with applause. It arrives quietly, in the shape of an empty office, a cleared name, and a breath you can finally take all the way in. And sometimes silence makes more noise than shouting ever could.